Hey guys, it's Dimitri with Rubashka Streetwear. So here is version 2 of my overhead camera setup. It's kind of crazy. There's, a lot of parts, but this was all basically just built by me. I didn't really buy like a setup. I just bought iron pipes and built it. So you can't buy this online if you're looking for it. You have to buy it. So I'm gonna go over everything and explain it piece by piece. So the first thing is, if you looked at my first video, which has like tens of thousands of views already, I built a smaller version of this out of iron pipe, and it's the same concept, but this one is larger for several reasons. First of all, I have this entire photo studio room dedicated to it, so I can do stuff like that. In the first setup, it was smaller because it was on the floor. I had the vinyl on the floor, so that meant that it doesn't have to be as high up. But also, I was in a smaller apartment and I didn't have as much space. Now I have more space, so I can kind of play around with that more. So the reason why I switched to having the vinyl on a table is for several reasons. The first one is obviously it's more ergonomic. And like I said, since I have more space, I can play around with that. There are pros and cons to it though. So the first pro is obviously it doesn't hurt your back as much. So I can be standing here and I could easily put the t-shirt on and adjust it and do all that. The con to it is that the camera is higher up, so it really should be a stationary object. You really shouldn't be fumbling around with it. In the first setup, it was easier to change the settings and do this and that with it. And it's also a space saver, but there's trade-offs to everything. So let me explain the whole rig here. So this is honestly very difficult to figure all this out. And one of the big reasons why was because you want to take the photo like straight on, dead on, and you're kind of thinking three-dimensionally with this setup. So you have length, width, and height, and you have to factor in all of those settings as well as like the zoom and the placement of the t-shirt and the placement of the overhead rig, the lights. There's so many placements that it honestly gave me a headache. This is why it took me so long to do this setup, because I was working in it like slowly over time. It's not perfect, but it's pretty much close to what I wanted. I originally wanted to have the camera and everything rigged from the ceiling, but that was just honestly mentally difficult to do, and there was other reasons and issues for that as well. I'm gonna show you a little close-up of what's going on here. So this solution, I played a lot around with it a lot. So the camera had to stick out this way a certain amount, and then it had to stick down a certain amount because of the lens and then how it turns up on the laptop. So I found that the iron pipe came in handy because it's very adjustable, and depending on what kind of pieces, they have so many different sizes of pieces that you can make it very adjustable. And the cool thing is even though it's really on there tight, you can still swivel it up and down and side to side. And then as well as these pieces right here, you can also swivel them around. That way the camera can be perfectly level. On this one, there is actually a level up there, right there, and it's pretty much dead on. This is also a quick removal plate, so I can take this camera off without having to disassemble anything or take off this. In my first setup, I had this piece right here, but I had to unscrew it, and that is really not good because it kind of this is all like basically calibrated to the setup, and then you're gonna mess up your calibration if you do that. If I just have a quick disconnect plate, I can just take it off and it's ready to go. So yeah, I just really like how this is adjustable. You can even see right here, it's kind of slanted this way, but then the camera is straight. And like I said, it has a level up there, so you will, be fine with that. Another thing that I changed with this setup is now I have a tethering cable that runs along through here, and I got a 15-foot one, so it's long enough to reach here, and I can also move this card around if I need to, anywhere I want. So the reason why I did that was because I kept taking the SD card in and out of the camera, and that's not really a good system. There's a whole bunch of waste in that, and it also wears out the camera, the SD card, and the SD card slot in there. It's just not good to do that to your camera. Just imagine doing that like hundreds, thousands of times. It will wear it out. So that's one thing I changed. And then since it's tethered to the computer, we also have images that directly import to the computer. And let me explain. I wrote this on a whiteboard so I can explain it better to you guys. So I'll explain all of the waste that I got rid in the process. And there's probably still more to eliminate. And that is my next project, is more of the digital realm. How can I eliminate the waste? So the first one was the SD card transfer. That is gone. And now we have the tethering instant import, so I don't have to fumble around with that anymore. Then an issue that I had all the time when I was taking photos is that I had the rotating image. It would always be formatted the wrong way when I would import them. So in your camera, there's some settings. It's really easy to do. You can do like an auto rotate, and it'll automatically import the correct way. So I don't have to do that anymore in my process. And then we have straining the image. So this, honestly, this just came to my head, and I was like, you know what, let's try it. So I went on Amazon and I bought a $40 laser that's like used for surveying. In this application, obviously, you don't need like $100, $200, $300 surveying laser, because we're not surveying anything. All we're doing is using it to straighten out the photo. So I haven't seen anyone do this before, but I was just like, you know what, whoops, dropped my pen. I was like, you know what, let's try it out. So all you do with this system is you just click the button, and there you go. So the cool thing about the laser is that obviously you want a centering line, and that centering line is calibrated with the camera right there. That was honestly like a nightmare. That's why this took so long. I had to figure out how to center this with the camera, and it's a whole thing. But yeah, you have the center line. So when you put the t-shirt down, you just center as best you can with your eye, and then with the horizontal line, you can either do it up the top or at the bottom, whichever one you prefer. I like it at the top, so I know where to stop the t-shirt. And then, yeah, so then like when the camera takes the photo, the t-shirt is perfectly straight and perfectly centered. And then the only thing you got to remember is just obviously to turn off the laser right before you take the photo. So yeah, that's one waste I eliminated in the process. It was always difficult to get photos straight because I was talking to my friend Michael, who helps me here with the brand. This is just something I always have to do, is straighten the image out when we were editing it. And I was just like, you know, it really should be straight when we take it, so we don't have to do that. Because this is what's happening. When you grab this t-shirt or a hoodie, you're putting it on the table, right? Why not straighten it on the table when you're doing that? Because you're touching the garment that time anyways. And then you don't have to edit it later. You want to edit it as minimally as possible. So that's gone. And then this is another cool thing I figured out with Lightroom. We can have presets that automatically apply during a photo, and I'll show you how that works. I'll show you the whole setup here. So this should be on right now, and we just give it a little tap on the button, and then and then all the settings on here are also calibrated. So like the exposure, and then the focal length, all that stuff. So all we do, here's the camera. It's already, this is called tethering. You can look that up. And here's some settings here. And here is the developer settings. So we can import presets depending on t-shirt or the hoodie. So what I do, and I just put one here, is I name usually when I do stuff, I name the color of the garment, and then I also name a specific like ink or something like that. So in this one, I didn't need to do it, but for instance, a popular one I would do would be like a black t-shirt with white ink. And the reason why you do that is because if there's a predominant ink color, like let's say white, you want that white to pop out, so you would change that in your settings. And editing like a black shirt with white ink could be slightly different than editing a black shirt with yellow ink. You get that? You get what I'm saying? So you can play around with that and figure out what presets work for you, but that's what I've done and it works for me. I haven't uploaded all of the presets that I have for my other Mac onto my laptop, but I have one right here that we'll test out. So we click ash color shirt. So that's already loaded, and all we do is just click this and bam. It just took a photo instantly. I didn't even touch the camera. What that does is it reduces camera shake. Well, actually it doesn't give any camera shake because I never touched the entire setup other than when I click that button to get it going. And I leave that on as well because the battery lasts a long time. So once you click the shutter button to get the camera going, you know, wait probably 5 seconds because this thing could slightly be shaking. You don't want any camera shake. What that does is it makes the photo blurry and you won't have as good detail. And here's the shot that we just got. So it's pretty much there. There is this gray area right here. It's not onto the shirt really, but what's happening is that the flash is not evenly spread. So one of the things I'm working on improving is to buy a second flash and put it on the other side of the camera. That will be basically tethered with the camera as well. So that will be gone. That's a future improvement. And then you can just click this and you click on 1.1 and bam, there you go, done. And then the last thing that you can do is you click, let's see if I could do this with no, well, hold up. Actually, I'll just tell you guys. So you just click Apple arrow E and this exports the image into Photoshop. And then in Photoshop, what we do is we, take out this background and then we put in the white background and then we export this file from Photoshop into an image optimizer, which reduces the file size. And then we also label our photos for SEO so people can find them online, and that's the entire process. So this process before, when we were doing photos, it took a really long time because we didn't really have a good setup here like we do right now. This took a lot of time to think about and build all this up and to align everything. But the reason why I invested so much time into this is because the whole photo process, it just really bugged me. It took too long, and now, as you guys can tell, even with me talking and going on about it, this was so fast. And this is just like the steps in Lightroom. Doing it in Photoshop is also super fast, and then optimizing the image. But we can literally get a photo done right now in I don't know, probably 2 minutes now. It's that fast, and it used to take probably way longer than that. I don't even remember how long it used to take. So yeah, that's kind of how the presets work. They're automatically applied now. And then, so that's gone. Here's a future improvement. So before I would take off the camera, we had a different rig up on the ceiling. It was not even good. I would take off this camera, change the lens, and then take detail shots because this lens does not work for the detail shots. So I knew that was waste in the process, but now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna buy a second camera, not as fancy as this one, but it's still gonna be a DSLR, so the lenses will be interchangeable. And I'm gonna have a detail camera because with each product we take at least 3 detail shots. So we take shots of the graphic, the collar, and stitching. On hoodies, we like to show how the hoodie's well constructed and all of that. And then taking detail shots for your clothing brand is super important because people need to see up close. I see a lot of brands, they have terrible photos, no detail shots, so the customer really doesn't know what they're buying. So I think that's important, and that's why I invested so much time and effort into this. So that is a future improvement we're gonna do. And then an extra battery. Here's the cool thing with this setup. So we have all the outlets here on the strip and on the power strip. And I put this battery charger right here. I'm gonna put an extra battery here. And this is what I think is cool about this. You're not charging the battery over and over and over again. I don't think it's really good to leave a battery in like into like a wall socket all day while it's cycling through. You should really charge it as you need it. So let's say I'm in this photo studio and I'm working for half an hour and I have a battery charging for half an hour. And then in the future I need a battery. Well, that battery is fully charged, but it's also not like cycling through a lot, which, you know, it's probably not the best thing in my opinion. And then, I'm gonna just explain a couple more things to you guys about this setup. I know my head's jumbling around, but here's a cool thing, like an improvement I made. I put like what kind of batteries this requires. It says AA, and the reason why I did that is because in the future, if that runs out of batteries, I don't want to have to think about what batteries we need. And I'll even show you on the mic system. I even labeled it right here as well. That way we always know which batteries we need, and then we put that in our our stock. We have like extra batteries, so you don't really need to like fumble around with that. This is an important thing to have, I think, in my opinion, because it's like a backing plate. And the reason why, let's say you're like in an office space like this, you want to minimize the amount of holes you're putting into the wall. I honestly kind of messed up the ceiling a little bit. I just was playing around with this whole setup too much, and you know, there's some holes right there. I did fill them in, and I'm gonna paint them and all that stuff, and it'll be fine. But this backing plate, it's just made out of wood and painted. It really helps because, for instance, when I was putting up this laser, it took a lot of like moving around and calibration. There's like 5 holes under here, you know, like I'm trying to get it the right way, and I had this kind of set up a little bit differently before, so it helps because you can put all of the holes into the wood rather than to the wall. There is only like 4 screws here rather than 10 screws, for instance. And you can also put like maybe another power strip here if you need it. So one other thing, I'm gonna explain what's going on here. So, and this as well. This is the cool thing. So I have this vinyl and it rolls up onto, so if I need to have these tables, everything's flexible. The reason why I made everything like this is because from time to time we use these tables, and then from time to time we need to alter this photo setup if we're doing some kind of creative video or photo shoot, which we have done before. So if I don't need the white vinyl, if I need like the color blue or something, for instance, I can easily roll that up really fast. I'm not gonna do it right now because I'm holding the camera and it's a little bit awkward. But you can roll this up, and then this thing, you can just unscrew this by hand. It's not super tight, and then this vinyl roll will pop out. And you know what's cool about that is you can literally put in another vinyl roll with a different color, or you can get it out of the way if you don't need it for a certain thing. And once it's rolled up, it can just hang here because these tables can slide out. And what I did was I just I also cut a notch into this so it could go through, because it was like curled up like this, and it doesn't really look good in the photos. It doesn't really matter for my particular needs to have it cut in like this, because I never take photos to the very edge on this side with whatever I'm doing, so that doesn't really matter to me. And here is what's going on right here. So like I said, we want everything mobile. So if you want something mobile, you have to have a jig, and basically a jig is like a stop that is telling you where to put and place things. So we went to the hardware store. We this office is like literally like a 30-second walk from here, which is super cool because I always go there to get stuff. And we got these cool like broom holders, and this iron pipe fits perfectly in here. So when we need to totally move this rig back or something, all we do is pop it out. It just pops out. And then this is just held on by an L bracket and just a piece of wood that I cut, and it's screwed into the table. I don't care about these tables that much. They can have holes because I think they're like 40 bucks. They're super cheap. And I got like 2 of these for free anyways from my parents, so they're helpful. And then here's the wheels. Oh, there's a screw. Here's the wheels, so we can move it as well. This was like the same setup as the version 1. So here is one small con though, and this is something I want to think about and fix. This rig is kind of wobbly because it's so tall. The version 1 rig was not as wobbly, just because it's smaller, and and the reason why it's like that is because there's not enough bracing. For instance, structurally, this really should have a piece right here, like a triangle piece. You know how they do that in bridges. It obviously is difficult to do that with iron pipe. There are ways around that, and I know a way around that with using other things, but that will take a little bit more thought and effort. If there was a pipe down here, that would help with the rigidity, but what that does is it causes there to be less mobility because there's a bar in the way of these tables. I mean, we probably could do that, but then you'd have to lift them over and this and that. Overall though, we only move this rig very rarely, but it's still mobile enough. One tip if you're gonna build something like this is make sure that you screw these in as tight as you can, because what happened when I was doing this early on, you want to have someone help you with this maybe. So what happened was I didn't screw in one of the sides enough, and I almost had this camera fall because I was moving this around and it just fell. It wasn't screwed in right here tightly enough and it just fell down. Luckily, I was holding onto this side with the camera, so the camera didn't fall or anything, but it's just a warning. That is one of the issues. If everything is screwed in tight, it should be fine. But yeah, that's just one thing you probably want to figure out a way to make this more rigid, and there's probably ways around that. But yeah, that's the photo setup. It took some time and investment, but it cut down on a lot of waste in the process, and now we get to basically enjoy it forever. This will continue to be improved, and then the photo process will continue to get better and better. Oh, I wanted to show you something cool. This is what the place looks like with, this is just like, I don't know, this is super cool. I'll show you. This is what the laser looks like with all the lights off. Check this out. This is just like the coolest thing ever. Anyways, I hope you guys like this video, and let me know what you think in the comments below. If you are a photo editor and you got any photo tips to make the process better or faster, let me know, and I accept constructive criticism. Anyways, catch you guys later. Bye.